Encube is in the pharmaceutical sector, which obviously has super high standards for quality, compliance, regulation. How do you balance that with the people agenda?
It's a really fantastic move that we've been doing, and this would never be possible if we were not going to be involved with the business.
Yeah. What was sort of that initial mandate like for the first year?
I had a couple of areas where I faltered also.
Were you nervous?
There might be 10 ideas that are happening. Only when is the right time for your organization, I think then you can implement it.
How do you see the HR of the future needing to be different than like the HR of today?
That your mundane activities are all going to be automated over the time. I will not say overnight. I always felt that, I'm trying to give opportunities to people. I realized that what I feel opportunity may not always be an opportunity for people.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Close the Loop podcast. I know we were gone for a little while, but we're really excited to be back. Today I have a longtime colleague, friend, Mansi Kampani, who's the CHRO of Encube Ethicals, one of the leading pharmaceutical companies in India based out of Bombay. Really excited to have Mansi today to talk about career progressions within HR and what it looks like to step out of the HR track for some time and then come back bigger and better. But yeah, really excited to get into it with you, Mansi.
Thank you so much for a lovely introduction, Ryan.
Yeah.
I think it's my pleasure to be here and talking to you on a subject that is really dear to me. So looking forward for the conversation.
Yeah, and we've been trying to kind of connect, so this is like the perfect setting to do it. So I think it would be super helpful. Obviously today you've kind of climbed the ladder, you're CHRO, you have major people and culture like responsibilities at Encube, but maybe if you just want to walk us through the early days, right? What was kind of your overall journey from the beginning? Yeah.
Sure. I started my career in recruitment, and that was, I think, the foundation where I understand the roles, I understand the aspects of what is required for the organization early on to understand about the organization.
Yeah.
And that gave me a really nice personality development area also. So I'm basically, not an extrovert, I'm an introvert. And when I started off with my career from recruitment, it gave me an opportunity to talk to so many diverse people and having some amazing experiences. And I guess that just built on my, focus within HR more and more. So that is how I began my career. Then I went to study abroad, UK, where I did my master's in human resource and organization analysis. I got an opportunity to work at Natural History Museum, which is a non-profit organization, where I was shadowing the head of the department, Mr. Chris. And it was really fun, very different experience. And once I graduated, I came back and I joined Mercer India, where I was working as a data analyst. So it was very different again, working in a consultancy firm. And then I joined Encube. So when I joined Encube early on, I was working in talent management area, where I was working for rewards and recognition, learning and development, capability building, which probably, if I see today, 5 years back, it was just a concept that I thought I could bring in. But today, as I stand after 5 years as a CHRO, I think it's something that has come to life.
How did you kind of make that transition then into people ops, right?
Sure.
And broader kind of human resources, right?
Sure.
And any advice for folks who are in TA today who want to make that jump, maybe?
If anybody wants to get into HR, the best part is to start from talent acquisition. You get a holistic understanding of an organization, of the people you're bringing in to, I think, and then the second stage gets into your talent management piece or an operation piece.
Sure.
That transition will happen only when you know your foundation. So for me, I really strongly believe that talent acquisition is something that builds your foundation. Knowing the, your area of HR, or for that matter, the organization, I think it's the biggest learning anyone can have. So I would always urge that you should start from there. And then the transitions are easy in the way where you can bring in your strategical aspect, whether it is your talent management piece or whether it is your operation.
That's actually the true beginning of the employee life cycle. So if you start there, then you have a good understanding of the rest of the life cycle.
Right.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And then obviously you kind of were working in HR, and then you went into the world of consulting, right? And I think our audience and a lot of the HRs we work with, they always kind of either they were in consulting or they're thinking about it. What was your experience like at Mercer, and what did you kind of take away from that experience that maybe you brought into Encube?
So Mercer was really interesting and very different because I've always been at corporate and never into consultancy.
Yeah.
It was so nice considering the fact that working on their products to understand, to see how the sales team is works as well. It was very different. I think for me, what really helped was more professionalism. So to how to ensure you write a proper email, how you communicate. When you're on the other side and not on the client base, so you understand. Sometimes it gets frustrating also working in odd hours, but all of that just helped me professionally to be more resilient. My managers were really amazing, so the guidance was fantastic. So I really appreciate that entire journey. But yes, back of the mind, I always wanted to get into corporate world. So, but I think consultancy was fun.
So kind of give you a base to maybe try out comp and bend with a lot of clients, and then move into doing it more deeply at one firm. What did it feel like when you're moving from that role into a broader CHRO role, or a broader, I think there was a promotion at some point, but you came in at a kind of HR leadership level at Encube. What was sort of that initial mandate like for the first year? What were you supposed to get done?
Right. Nervous, I think. I was excited, and probably that was always something I really wanted to do. My entire focus was more majorly on the subject of HR, from the execution part, let's say policy making, bringing in new areas, possibly what I learned at Mercer, or from engagement activities, or from R&R areas or L&D. But I think what I understood in my entire 5 years right now is that the biggest change and shift is from a supporting team of HR to a business strategist role. I think that was the transition which happened over the time. I will not say overnight, but it took time because that's a mind shift that you have to bring in. One very important thing that I've learned is that there might be 10 ideas that are happening which would be outside, and you may know your friend's company are doing or your previous company was doing. But I realized one thing is that only when it's the right time for your organization, I think then you can implement it. So knowing your organization was very important.
I think so many of the folks that I've met also who are trying to climb that leadership trajectory within people and culture is they're all trying to figure out how to become more strategic. So what helped you, like kind of, you're talking about the importance of that mindset. Was there anything that you said, okay, I need to stop, pause, and reflect and do this differently? Or maybe this was a behavior you used to do, but now taking on this more strategic mindset, this is something you should be doing?
I always felt that, I'm trying to give opportunities to people, whether within the organization or if the candidates are joining NQ. I realized that what I feel opportunity may not always be an opportunity for people. It could also be a scenario where they are taking extra burden, or probably their capability needs to be there, or their mind should be there to take it as an opportunity. So that actually, I had a couple of areas where I faltered also, and then that made me realize that I cannot always have that mind where I feel that if this is the piece I need to put in the jigsaw puzzle, it has to fit in. It could be for some other puzzle, right? So I tried. It was a trial and error scenario where now I've realized one thing is that to assess the situation was very important, to see what's the larger goal of the organization, and if I can align my strategies with it.
Paying real attention to the direction the organization is headed and kind of trying to align your initiatives that way. You've obviously had the experience of working both in India and the UK. I think there's a lot of similarities and there's a lot of differences. From grievance handling, process orientation is much higher, and not always better, but definitely further along in terms of process. Now that you've been kind of leading people and teams largely in India, is there anything from there that you really liked and brought in to the way you work here? And are there certain things that are like, no, this has to remain this way in the Indian context?
There are a lot of similarities and there are a lot of differences.
Yeah.
But for me, one thing was very amazing and that stayed with me was people-centric approach. I felt that India always had something on the clock, and it's like a machinery work that people used to do. This is prior to COVID. I think COVID changed a lot of things for all of us. When I was in UK, it always was for people. And people were always, empathetic. I'm not saying sympathetic. They were really empathetic towards, each other. Policies also demanded that way. Two things I really thought that shaped my professional career, and I tried to bring that in, especially with my team here. The first is diversity and inclusion, if I have to say. Prior to COVID, specific to Encube also, a lot of times the hires were very much local. We didn't have hires happening from other locations as well, considering the fact that, whether the person would join, not join, mindset would be, matching to the current lot. What really helped me to understand when I was in UK is that different walks of life, people coming in together also can bring in, great synergy. And secondly, I think when I was in UK, I had this one opportunity to attend one grievance handling case where we were at the lawyer's office. And for me, I was making my notes, but I also saw that even though it was a serious conversation, but the calmness in the room that brought in was so good whenever such cases happen, because being in HR, you definitely have grievances every single day.
Totally.
So how do you have your Zen mode, or how do you have a situation where you're neutral and you don't react to the situation immediately? That calmness needs to be there, and that is sensed in the room itself. So I think that kind of really excited me that, whenever such cases are happening,
you're going to be the rock.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And probably not have a reaction or a judgment instantly, not to be defensive at that point, be a better listener. So I guess all those nuances probably helped me around, and that's what I've tried to, display to my team and taken that.
That's a pretty underrated aspect. Obviously just remaining calm in the face of, like, there's always going to be tension and conflict for any company, and especially at a growth stage company that has goals as ambitious as Encube always has had. You kind of were able to solve it in yourself, right? You're able to access that Zen mode and be that calm force, right? But how to kind of have that manifest across all leadership or management, right? Because you have your perspective in the company, but managers are out there leading their own teams every single day, and so they're on the front lines of like that tension and conflict. Any advice that you have on having them be able to access that Zen mode and respond less reactively and be more constructive around that?
You need to be a better listener. So for example, if I'm trying to have that calmness, it's wrong for me to expect that the other person will always have. So for me is that to show it will automatically, emit that kind of vibes towards, to me. And once you listen to the person and you allow the opposite person to speak the mind, right? The opposite person is already in the mode to listen to you. So then that's how you can probably have that calm conversation is what I believe. And that has worked with me.
I think that jives with my experience as well. But no, I think that's so underrated, right? Just like your emotional state and reactivity towards things that happen. One other thing though, so in your industry, Encube is in the pharmaceutical sector, which obviously has super high standards for, quality, process, compliance, regulation, right? As you guys have such a strong focus there, how do you balance that with maybe the people agenda? Like, does that ever conflict? And how have you been able to maybe handle that?
Especially to understand that since we are into pharma, our each and every day is for a patient. So how important the quality is of the product is really, really important. But having said that, from the role of a security guard to the role of the MD, so everyone is going to be, having a role to play to ensure that the productivity of the organization is great. So I think that understanding has to be delivered, and we try to do that. Your targets are always going to be more than what you have achieved today. Like, it's never going to be less. So expectations are always going to be more from the organization, from each individual. It's always that. But what I have tried to bring in the organization, along with the seniors, of course, is that to assess the capability of the individual or your team member, at the same time to assess what your goals should be. So you need to ensure that both assessment has to happen. And then there has to be a great communication, first to understand what the larger picture of the organization is, and then to communicate to your team member that how his or her performance is going to be affecting that.
This kind of area that we all work in, it's changing a lot now with technology, tools, etc. But how do you see the HR of the future needing to be different than like the HR of today?
I personally feel that it's going to become more strategical. Like you have to, like the mind shift has to be that, we're no more a supporting team. We're definitely, a strategic team, part of the board, part of critical decision making, and you have to have a voice. HR is nowhere now only going to be working on, or execution basically, an order is given and, you're following it. No, we have a voice. We have to have that, especially starting from your org structure, starting from an understanding of, even for that matter, what the company goals are, to understand and to give a viewpoint that how you can enhance or enhance the productivity there or add a value to it. I think it's very important. Also, having said that, your mundane activities are all going to be automated soon, right? Like from your interviewing process, recruitment process, everything's going to get into automation soon. So definitely your skill developments have to increase. And that probably, like I mentioned, from strategy level is going to be at large. So
bigger, because more of the mundane stuff will be automated. You'll actually have hopefully more bandwidth to focus on the more strategic stuff.
We've had, 2 new locations that we've had. One is in Indore, our new plant, as well as a shiftment movement from for our R&D center from Marul to Palava. So to add value to that was a very important thing. To anticipate for Palava how many attrition would happen, to bring in new folks, when to start planning for it a year before we shifted. For Indore also to bring in new talent, starting from scratch, to have a team build now today of almost 220 or 230 for that matter.
It's that big, is it? Wow.
So it's a really fantastic move that we've been doing, and this would never be possible if we were not going to be involved with the business. When I say this, it's not just me as a CHRO, but I've ensured that my entire team is involved into this, and they know why they are doing, for what they are doing. If one recruitment is delayed, what is the impact that can happen? So it's a fairly large process. The second is automation area. So we've gotten our entire performance management system on a platform, which is really amazing because that's become more smoother process, more attractive, less scarier, because otherwise people get really scared when they say, you're getting appraised or, that's it's a really,
that too on some ugly document.
Exactly. So that's been really well. From healthcare specific, also from employee health benefits per se, we've tried to enhance that, also bringing in new policies over the last 3 years. So we've been partners.
The launch of Parental was a big one, for you guys. And on that topic, I think obviously we've had discussions about employee health and wellness for I think years now. What's your feeling? What's your thought on kind of the future of wellness, the future of healthcare? Do you have any asks of the industry who provides all of these services to you guys, right?
We're doing really well already, and I think it's all on the development stage to go more advanced. But I feel that a lot of people within, even in Encube for that matter, they all need to be more aware about it. And I guess that awareness needs to be circulated. For example, since we've been associated and we have amazing facility of your application, where you have a lot of doctors, consultants, right? It's been almost 3 to 4 years where we've seen that the utilization of that has happened within the families of the employees or with the employees for that matter.
And increasingly over time.
It's increasing over time. So for me, I feel that if you're bringing in such noble cause for people, like, noble areas, I think people should be more aware. That's what I feel. And that is something I feel we all should be doing together. Right?
I think that makes sense. I think finding more creative ways to spread that awareness, and it's not just for the health benefits, but it's probably for everything. More awareness around the company's goals, more awareness around why this is a great place to work,
Absolutely.
and all that. So,
Absolutely.
any kind of last bit of advice that you have for the audience, for folks who want to follow your footsteps and kind of climb the career ladder so quickly?
Never say no, I feel, in terms of whatever comes your way for work specific, because I believe I'm a product of that. Trial and errors is always something that you should be doing. If you are not enjoying something, you at least know what you're not good at or you don't want to do, and probably by eliminating you get to do what you want to. I think you never know when what skills come in use, and enjoy the process of your career. Nice. So I think we overthink a lot. We supremely analyze ourselves each day. So just don't do that. Just go with the flow and enjoy every bit.
Trust the process, be present.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's good advice for anybody in any field, actually. So yeah. No, thanks so much, Mansi. I think this is really nice to get to have a deeper chat today and kind of understand a bit more about your career. Thanks so much for the time. I'm really sort of grateful that we connected so many years ago, and I wish you guys all the best of success. I mean, you guys are on a crazy growth trajectory. So
thank you so much. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Thanks, Mansi.